All right, welcome back for the fifth and final match. This is Sultai control, and oops, what do we got going on here? This is okay, not the greatest, but we do have a couple pieces of early interaction, some lands, start to thin the deck. We only run 22 lands, too. A lot of business in the deck. I think this is probably keepable. Opponent, unfortunately, has to mulligan down to 5. And waiting for the second main. No, plays no land. So, interesting. Curious what he's got going on here. Doesn't play land again, so we'll go get a watery grave. We have a forest we can play already. Oh, we got a breeding pool. I guess we had swamp and... Yeah. Oh, okay, so actually, we don't really have any double black in the deck at the time, and this is also a little different than the build. I forgot to mention this in the last match, but in this match, um, I did not have 2 Liliana, the Last Hope. I did not have Doomblade. I had 3 Grim Flayer, a second Abrupt Decay, and what was it? Oh, and a Collective Brutality in the main deck. So again, this list on the right side of the screen over here is my current list. Just doing recordings of these matches I had already played. So probably not needing double black at the time, but having a Maelstrom Pulse and the Tarmogoyf in hand maybe made me think that a second green was more important at the moment. So we jam a swamp, get a Tarmogoyf down, see what happens. Opponent still hasn't played a land. Again, they mulled to 5, so not sure what they... Okay, so... so this is probably the new Cheerios deck, Cheerios combo deck. At this point, I shouldn't say new. The deck existed. I've played against it in the past. It's Pure Steel Paladin, and basically when they play equipment, they get to draw a card as long as they have Pure Steel Paladin on the battlefield. And so by playing the equipment, they hope to loop a bunch of these artifacts. Then they play a card called Retract to return them all back to their hand, and then they play them again, which draws them more cards. And ideally, they're going to draw enough equipment that they can do this to get their storm count up, and then they grape shot you, or there's something else they used to use for a win condition as well. I can't remember. But now the deck has gotten better because of Aether Revolt. While we got Fatal Push, they got Shram, SRAM, which is essentially a second copy of Pure Steel Paladin. And so the deck's much more consistent, and it's had some success in like PTQs and whatnot. And so anyway, so this is probably what we're looking at based on Kite Shield. I can't think of any other deck that's going to run that. The problem here, obviously, is that he is playing out these artifacts with no Pure Steel Paladin or Shram to get him his cards. Has a Mox Opal now, though. Uses the Mox Opal to Serum Visions. So I think at this point, I am thinking, as he misses another land drop, that he absolutely needs that Mox Opal to win. And so I just throw the forest down, blow up the Mox Opal with the Maelstrom Pulse, start attacking. And he doesn't draw a land again, and so he just concedes. He knows this race is pretty much over. So we'll get the first game there. And come into game 2. little bit of a spoiler that there's going to be a game 3. Again, I've been on the draw every single game this league. I think this looks okay, but I'm not quite sure. I feel like I probably keep. I feel like I would keep definitely now, knowing what I know. Alright, so it gets a land this time. Things would be different. Run out the rainforest. I think we probably want some counter magic. Yeah, I should say sideboarding wise. I would assume I probably brought in surgical extraction. Probably dispel and or negate for retract because that's how they kind of loop their combo. Abrupt decay probably to help kill off their combo creatures. They really don't run many creatures as well, and they run so few lands. It's possible Fulminator Mage could be good. Not like highly likely, but if they go for like the non-basics, you could really hold them or keep them off mana, I think. Not sure that there's enough to pull out because you definitely want to keep in your fatal pushes. You still need a clock. Go for the throat, should hit all their creatures. I almost wonder, the dispels are good, but I wonder if maybe the negates and counter squalls are not that great. Cryptic Command seems kind of slow, so maybe there's room to bring some of those in. So opponent throws in the new guy, Shram Senior Edificer. So whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card. Cathar Shield, draw a card. But in response, while that's on the stack, we go get an Overgrown Tomb, and we pop old Shram, a little 1/2 Fatal Push, draw one card, that's all you get. I'm not letting you chain that puppy off. Again, since they only run 8 creatures, that could be enough to win the game, basically, assuming he doesn't have another creature fast enough. Drawn Catacomb. We do go with Tarmogoyf. I guess in this case, we're looking for raw beatdowns as fast as possible. Uh-oh, Pure Steel Paladin. And we are tapped out, so we're going to get to watch him do some stuff. Try and click through this fast. As you can note, the storm count over on the side is growing as he casts these. He's now cast Retract, returned them all, so now he can draw them again. But he drew extra cards during all that time, so now he's increased his hand size, which means he ideally or likely has more. What he really needs now to keep this going is a Mox Opal, allowing him to, and a Retract to do another loop. So storm count up to 13. Almost there. Oh, he has the Mox Opal. Does he have blue? He does. Serum Visions. Does he have another Mox Opal? No, so he kind of fizzled. However, this deck's not quite the same with fizzling. I mean, if he gets another Retract, he can just loop it again and start the combo the next turn. He does have to discard a Seachrome Coast. We have an Abrupt Decay. So we get rid of the Pure Steel Paladin now, hoping now that he does not have another one drawn out of those. Again, so he had 8 total. We've already killed 2 of them. So he's got down to 6 cards. The assumption there's probably about 3 to 4 in his deck and 2 more in his hand. So we're probably we're hoping that he doesn't have a combination of creature and and or retract. However, a lot of these, I thought... Oh, so yeah, so if he has a pure steel paladin, he can also equip equipment for free, as long as he has 3 more artifacts. So if it's a pure steel paladin, he can also just put up a creature that's big enough to hold off our Tarmogoyf. So anyway, we get in there, do some damage. Didn't draw another land. Of course, he got another pure steel paladin, so he can either equip all this, equipment to his creature and a Shram. Plays a Cathar Shield, so now he's going to draw 2 cards, one for the Pure Steel and one Shram. I think you get the Shram at casting, the Pure Steel when it enters the battlefield, so there is a slight difference in how the creatures work. Got a couple more. So now look at his hands already up to 9, 10, 11 cards. Still got the Mox Opal up. If he draws into another Mox Opal, he is down to 17 cards. There's like a... Are these May abilities? Yeah, you may... So Shram is not a May ability, so he can get down to just where he draws 1 card at a time until he has... he did just Mox Opal used to the blue. But he can do it 1 card at a time, so there, I was going to say if he had like two Shrams, for example, it's possible that if, his win con of Grape Shot was the very last card, he might accidentally have to draw 2 and lose because he couldn't. Although if he drew into a Serum Visions, he could theoretically Serum Visions. I don't know, it's possible, and I apologize, I just realized when I do these playbacks from the playback view, there's no chat window by default. And so as this screen gets bigger, I'm not sure if you were able to actually see the Mox Opal. It might have been hidden under the deck list here. Normally, the whole screen is right up to here, so I apologize if what I was saying didn't make any sense there. So again, he's got a 37-card hand. He's drawn 1 card of hand. He's got a Mox Opal there. Taps the Mox Opal for red now. He may not have Grape Shot yet. Just getting there, that way he has it if he does, and cast another Mox Opal. Mox Opal is not our equipment, so he's not drawing cards off the Mox Opal. And yeah, so he has the Grape Shot there, and we'll just play it, and he can go down and ping me for like 20 points of damage. And then I concede at some point here. Maybe I let him score it all. He has to click through it all. You can see his little green thing as he clicks. Same person, same target, same target, same target. Unless he's manually right-clicking on them all and pointing them towards me. Anyway, I'm going to lose this game. It does it 1 point of damage at a time. I'm not going to waste your time watching it go through. I'll probably let him do it for his own enjoyment. We'll move on to game 3 here. Again, the match status is 1-1 at this point. Looking to get a 5-0 with Sultai control. Alright, game 3. We're on the play. This is the first game that we are on the play. And now we have a really good idea of what his deck can do. Looking at it, a couple Abrupt Decay, we're on the play. This seems pretty good. Counter Squall. I guess so Counter Squall could be okay against Mox Opals, I suppose, because they really do need the Mox Opal. I don't know if they even run any red mana sources in their deck. Although I think one of the equipment allows the creature to tap for a color. So we keep this, breeding pool on the side, nothing to do with it. And we want to increase our odds of drawing an extra land, which is why we don't play the fetch land. Opponent plays a land. If they're cracking, probably into Serum Visions. We play a land. Hope I don't make the mistake of Serum Visionsing here. And I do. So there's a chance that he could just go off on us this next turn. So that said, I shouldn't say I made a mistake. Excuse me. There is this thing called risk reward. While I could have held up Abrupt Decay, if I don't draw a land the next turn, I mean, I could do it a couple times, I suppose. Actually, I don't know. So there is this thing called risk reward where sometimes, even though it might cost you the game, the risk of not doing it if they don't have it is essentially higher than if you hold back. So what am I trying to say? So if I had held up Abrupt Decay and they play a creature and so I kill that creature, that's fine. But it might hold me to a point where I don't draw into any lands. Now, granted, we already know I'm going to draw a couple lands over the next couple turns. The point being is, if I don't draw a land, I'm kind of locked in, whereas I could have used that Serum Visions when the opponent had the lowest likelihood of essentially comboing off. So if I end up using the Serum Visions later because I get stuck into a spot where I say I don't have a removal for their creature, at that point, they have a much higher likelihood of going off because they probably have sculpted their hand some or, drawn into what they need. So it is taking a chance here, but I will say, looking back at this now, having had 2 Abrupt Decays and knowing that they only have 8 creatures in their deck, the odds of them having 2 lands to cast their creature, because they need 2 white lands. No. I think one of them needs 2 white lands, the other needs a single white land. The point being is, for them to have access to both those lands and those creatures, the first 2 creatures I'm going to kill and they're going to draw a couple cards. Maybe. I guess that they only draw them if they're Shram. But point being is, the odds of them drawing into their other 6 copies are pretty slim. It's probably better, actually, looking back at this, to have held back the Abrupt Decay. Because if he just goes and combos off the next turn, it would be a real bummer. But we keep the Snapcaster with the land on top of it because we know we want the land long term. We need to get up to the point where we can cast Tassiger while holding the Abrupt Decay and counter Squall up. So we kind of are fingers crossed here. Did we just blow it? Hits the second land, but doesn't play a creature. Now, the other thing is I made sure to keep black up so that he had seen Fatal Push, and the hope was that he was worried that he couldn't live through a Fatal Push, so maybe he's hoping to get a 3rd land so that he can use some counter magic. Thankfully we have Abrupt Decays. So we're going to play Tomb. Again, since they kind of go for it all at once, there's no point in protecting the life total here. Even though it doesn't really matter, we don't have anything we can cast with it. He doesn't know that, or she doesn't know that. They don't know that. So instead of discarding hand size, plays the Accorder Shield. And at this point, I think I just slammed down a Snapcaster Mage. We're going to get to a point where we could snap Abrupt Decay, but we also need to put a clock on them, and we're kind of a little ways away from getting Tassiger on board. So we just throw Snapcaster Mage down. I'm going to Collective Brutality, take a peek at the opponent's hand. He uses the Retract so that we can't take it, returning the shield to his hand so he has a full hand size. That way he has the ability to go off as much as possible. He has all artifacts, and he does have a creature. He's just wanting to be patient about when he goes for it because we have the mana up that threatens removal. So we start to put on the pressure. Plus, the other thing is he had Pure Steel Paladin, so the artifacts actually have to enter the battlefield for him to draw a card. If we kill Pure Steel Paladin with the artifact on the stack, he doesn't actually draw anything. So throws down Mox Opal. I can only assume he does that because he already has a Mox Opal, or another Mox Opal in hand. So there's probably some consideration to blowing the Mox Opal up. But not yet. So the clock is starting to speed up a little bit. No, and we also have Fatal Push now. Throw another land down. We're almost about a turn away from being able to hold up 2 pieces of removal, which means we could probably get Tasigur down. So he's got access to 4 mana now. He could put 2 creatures down on the same turn. Yeah, actually, we're 1 land away from getting Tasigur down while holding 2 pieces of removal up. But at this point, I don't know that we even need to. We're getting to a point where, it just makes more sense to just hold up the Abrupt Decay. I mean, if we draw a land, again, maybe. I just think having access to 2 pieces of interaction is more important here. Sorry if all these mouse clicks are annoying. It just moves too fast if you use the other guy. So fetches down to 6, and now we're to the point too where we can just kind of counter squall him out of the game. Double counter squall is pretty huge. There's surgical extraction if we want to rip a set of creatures. So we have the ability to try and kill him off here with double counter squall this turn. We end up just tossing the Tarmogoyf, doesn't matter. Goes for the Pure Steel. Plays his first first spell, and we counter squall it. Doesn't hit the battlefield, so he doesn't even draw a card. Goes for another one, second counter squall. And unless he has a counter magic. Yeah, and so he just concedes, and that... Oh no, sorry, so I fatal pushed, and he conceded at that point. We could have counter squalled this still, but I wanted to make sure at that point the creature was gone in case he used counter magic, and that way the counter squall would in fact be lethal. So, whew, alright. So that is a 5-0. We went 2-1 in the match for a total of 5-0 and 10-1 in the league. Pretty good result. We had a couple cheese wins there due to MTGO issues, I guess. But I don't feel like those were games that I was necessarily positioned poorly in anyway. I think Affinity we probably have a pretty fair matchup, and I think against Ad Nauseam we probably are slightly favored. But yeah, this was a good league. The deck felt good. I do go on to make some changes, so I'm going to try and record another league a little bit later, to play back on another league. The other league that I'm going to try and play back on, at that point I think I end up cutting the Grim Flayer, one of the Grim Flayers, down to 2 to get a Liliana. but at that point I still had no Doomblade, 2 Abrupt Decay, and a Collective Brutality. Um, and I've since moved on from there. I just don't know that we need all that much life gain. It's kind of like the games are kind of decided almost before the life gain really matters. Collective Brutality does offer some other benefits, but I almost wonder if Thought Seize might be better if we wanted to go that route, and that would be a sideboard choice. So anyway, I have since moved on to the list to the right. Liliana's fantastic, offers us another great win condition, and hopefully I get some more videos out there for you soon. Hopefully you enjoyed them.